What if the story you think you know about The Conjuring isn't the real story at all? What if the case that inspired it wasn't just about a haunted house, but about something far more human, far more disturbing, possibly misunderstood in a way that still affects people today? Most people remember the Perron family case as a classic haunting. A quiet farmhouse, strange noises at night, a mother slowly losing control, investigators stepping in to confront something unseen. It's been told, retold, and dramatized so many times that it feels almost safe. Like a story we've already figured out. But when you start digging into what actually happened in that house in Hartsville, Rhode Island, something feels off. Not because it's more supernatural than the movie suggests, but because it might not be. The Perron family moved into the farmhouse in 1971. Roger and Caroline Perron had 5 daughters, and, like most families, they were just looking for a fresh start. The house was old, but it had character. It felt like history. The kind of place where you imagine generations of people living quiet, uneventful lives. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Just small things. Caroline would notice objects moving slightly out of place, brooms disappearing and reappearing in corners, doors opening when no one was near them. The kind of things you can explain away if you want to. But, over time, those small things started to stack up. The daughters began hearing whispers at night. Not loud, not clear just enough to make you question whether you actually heard anything at all. One of them later described it as someone talking just behind you, but when you turn around, there's no one there. Caroline took it more seriously than anyone else. She became fixated on the house's history. Records showed that multiple families had lived there over the years, and several had experienced tragedy and unexplained deaths, accidents, things that didn't quite make sense on paper. One name stood out to her: Bathsheba Sherman. According to local rumors, Bathsheba had been accused of harming a child in the 1800s. There was never enough evidence to convict her, but the story lingered in the town. Over time, it turned into something darker. People said she practiced witchcraft, that she had cursed the land. But when you actually look at historical records, the story becomes uncertain. There's no clear proof that Bathsheba was anything more than a woman who lived in a difficult time, in a place where rumors spread easily and reputations could be destroyed overnight. And that's where things start to get uncomfortable. Because Caroline didn't just read about Bathsheba, she started to believe in her. If you enjoy real-life horror deep dives like this, make sure you resubscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because this story doesn't just get stranger, it gets harder to explain. As the weeks turned into months, Caroline's behavior began to change. Subtly at first, she became more withdrawn, more focused on the idea that something in the house was targeting her specifically. She would spend hours researching, trying to piece together a narrative that made sense of what she was feeling. The daughters noticed it too. Their mother, who had always been steady and practical, started reacting to things that no one else could see. She would wake up in the middle of the night, convinced someone had called her name. She claimed she felt a presence watching her when she was alone. Roger, her husband, remained skeptical. He believed there had to be a logical explanation. Old houses make noise. Stress can do strange things to the mind, and raising 5 children in a remote farmhouse, that's a lot of stress. But even he couldn't ignore everything. There were moments he couldn't explain. Sounds in empty rooms. Objects that seemed to move when no one was looking. Enough to make him uncomfortable, but not enough to convince him of anything supernatural. That tension, the divide between belief and skepticism, started to shape everything in the house. And then, the Warrens entered the story. Ed and Lorraine Warren were already known for investigating paranormal cases. When they visited the Perron home, they didn't dismiss what Caroline was experiencing. In fact, they reinforced it. They told her that the house was infested with negative energy, that the spirit of Bathsheba was real and hostile. Think about what that does to someone already on edge. Instead of grounding her, it validated her fears. From that point on, Caroline's condition worsened. She began experiencing what she described as blackouts. Periods of time she couldn't remember. Her daughters said she would sometimes speak in ways that didn't sound like her different tone, different rhythm, almost like she was playing a role she couldn't control. But here's the part that rarely gets talked about. There's no medical evaluation in the records, no psychological assessment. No attempt to understand whether Caroline might have been experiencing something internal rather than external. Everything was filtered through a single lens: the paranormal. And when you look at it that way, the story changes. Before I continue, if you watched part 1, you already know about the Perron family, the farmhouse in Harrisville, and how everything started to slowly fall apart after Caroline became fixated on the house's history. What you're about to hear picks up exactly where that story left off, because now it's not just about a haunted house. It's about a woman under extreme stress in an isolated environment, surrounded by people reinforcing the idea that she's under attack from something unseen. That's a powerful combination. The so-called seance, the moment that's often portrayed as the climax of the case, wasn't a controlled professional procedure. It was chaotic, emotional. Caroline was at the center of it, and according to witnesses, her behavior became increasingly erratic. She screamed. She convulsed. At one point, her chair reportedly lifted slightly off the ground. But accounts of that moment vary. Some say it was undeniable proof of something unnatural. Others suggest it looked like a psychological break, a person overwhelmed, reacting in a way that felt uncontrollable. Roger Perron himself was furious after the seance. Not because he believed it failed, but because he believed it made things worse. He asked the Warrens to leave, and they leave. No exorcism, no resolution, just a family left alone in the same house, with the same fears, but now with a stronger belief that something was wrong. If you've made it this far, you'd probably feel that shift too. This isn't just a ghost story anymore. It's something more complicated, and here's where it gets even more unsettling. The Perron family didn't leave the house right away. They stayed there 4 years after the investigation, and over time the intensity of the experiences reportedly faded. Not disappeared completely, but diminished. Which raises a question that's hard to ignore. If this was truly an external force, something tied to the house, to the land, to a specific entity, why would it lose strength over time without any direct intervention? But if it was something internal, something psychological, influenced by environment, stress, belief, then that pattern starts to make more sense. People adapt. Minds adjust. Fear changes shape. And sometimes it fades when it's no longer being reinforced. This doesn't mean the parents were lying. In fact, that's what makes this story so compelling. Everything they described felt real to them. The fear, the confusion, the moments they couldn't explain, but feeling real and being caused by something external, aren't always the same thing. The story of The Conjuring sits right in that uncomfortable space between belief and doubt. On one sea, you have the narrative. We've all seen the idea that something ancient and malicious targeted a family and left a permanent mark. On the other, you have a quieter, more unsettling possibility that a normal family, under the right conditions, can slowly begin to interpret ordinary events as something much more threatening. That fear can build, layer by layer, until it creates an experience that feels completely real, even if the source isn't what it seems. And maybe the most disturbing part isn't the idea of a haunted house. It's the idea that the mind, under pressure, can become its own kind of haunted place. Before you go, I want you to think about this, and maybe even send this to someone who grew up watching horror movies with you. Do you believe the Perron family experienced something truly external? Something we just don't fully understand yet? Or do you think this case reveals something deeper about how fear works, how belief spreads, and how easily reality can shift when we're in the wrong environment at the wrong time? Because the truth is, we don't have a clear answer, and maybe we never will. But the next time you watch The Conjuring, pay attention to what scares you more. The presence in the house, or the possibility that there might not have been one at all.